Alright, Reanna, here's the whole process. It does all start with good freshly roasted beans. So let's get that ground. My system does automatically weigh this. So the reason that you want it freshly roasted is because that's really the only way that you can get that layer of crema on the top, that the milk makes the nice art. I think Nespresso pods can work, if that's what you're into. I like to get my beans from a website called counterculture.com. And they do say that the darker the roast, the more crema you're going to get, but I typically go with more medium roast. I like to put just a little bit of flavoring at the bottom of the espresso shot, and that's going. I like these Torani chocolate sauces. Alright, so you can see a nice layer of the crema, and that's how the artwork stands out. Now with the milk frother, you always want to purge your steam wand first. This is just to get all of the water out so that when you actually start, you're using steam straight away. And make sure there's no milk. Make sure there's no milk in the tip. So I go with oat milk, and it's always important to go with the full fat versions, because without the fat in oat milk or milk alternatives in general, it will not create the foam. So best results, whole milk or full fat oat milk. And I've used multiple different brands and they all work. My cup here is, I believe, a 10-ounce cup, so I'm putting about 8 ounces or 250 milliliters or so. So now with the steam wand, what I've learned is there's kind of 2 phases. The initial phase with the steam wand is making bubbles at first, which they call tearing. That makes the bigger bubbles, and that's where you want the steam wand to be at the surface or just above the surface. Can't see. So at the surface or just above the surface, and you only want to do that for a little while once you get the volume that you want, and then you bury the steam wand in the milk to finish heating up the milk, and at the same time that's what makes the bubbles smaller, and the super tiny micro bubbles is what gives you the texture that you want in order to make art. So I'll start this process. So starting at the surface of the milk, mine takes a minute to kick on. Making bubbles. Process doesn't take long. Okay. And that's probably good. So I buried the tip, and now it's swirling everything around in there and trying to get rid of the larger bubbles. And I'm pretty much just staying in place here. I might move up and down a little bit just to try to get it to stir a bit more. But I've got my pinky on the bottom of the jug that's feeling the temperature. And what I've learned is that as soon as the temperature gets basically too hot to the touch, or it's about to burn you, that's when you stop, and that's when the milk is done. Other people use a thermometer and they shoot for, I believe, 70 degrees Celsius, but I don't really know what that means. And I don't have one, so I'll stop there. Plenty hot. I set this down, let the bubbles rest for a minute, because there are larger bubbles on the top. My steam wand is going to purge again. Okay, this has had a minute to sit. If you can tell, there's some bigger bubbles in there. When you tap, that pops the bigger bubbles. So swirl a little bit and tap. This looks like it might be a little too thick. So we'll see if it works. I might just let it sit a minute longer, or I might cheat a little bit and use my spoon, because I think some of the finer bubbles are at the bottom. But I don't want to create too many bigger bubbles. Let that sit for a second. And I'm just going to stir this in because I do have that flavoring. It still looks nice. I still have a good layer. Okay, that looks like it's going to work. So it should look shiny, and it shouldn't really look like they're bubbles. It should just be nice and velvety. So now the tricky part, you want to make sure you start pouring a little bit higher so that it goes to the bottom, and then when you're ready to do art, you bring the jug close to the coffee to do it. Okay, so starting higher. Yep, it's going through. That's good. Now I can bring it close. Yay, we got a heart. Nice. And there you go. I've got a bunch of extra in here. That's my recommendation. Go a little bit extra because you don't really know how much you need. And if you end up not frothing enough, then you don't end up having enough to get close enough to make the art. So if you wanted to see the other little hearts, you can get this little spoon and just make a dot or two. Okay. And with a toothpick or just using the skinny end of the spoon, whoosh, there's a couple little hearts. Toothpick works better. But just like I did yesterday, we can do one more little heart right here, and whoosh, there you go. Let me know when you try and how it works out.